is up? Truth and transparency. Cheers. Welcome. What is tonight? Thursday night? Friday night? Who knows? Every day feels like fucking Friday. Again, welcome, Karen Reed Trial Watchers. We have lots to talk about because I am just blown. Who is saying that this case is going to be finished in the hands of the jury and the defense is going to rest on Tuesday? You know what that tells me? That we are in for a treat tomorrow, because I think that the defense is going to have to rattle off like possibly 8 people. They have to call people that are going to say that John O'Keefe was not on the lawn. I mean, what? You have to. So, again, come on in. Whoo, Karen Reed Trial Watchers. What is up? What is good? What a great guy he is. Nicholas Barrows, let's talk about it. Hey there, Mary. How are you? What's up, Kim? JC, the music man. All right, all right. It tells me we're in trouble, says Carson. I think we're in trouble. Are we going to see any of the clips played by the defense? Is the defense going to play any clips? You know, I hope they call Higgins. I don't know what's going on, but the defense. I mean, I'm sorry, but the jury has to be confused. We know we have ARCA coming. Maybe Karen Reed just had her days mixed up, you know, when she said Tuesday. I so wish we would have watched Dever with you. Dever. Miss Dever, how are you? What? She was so offended. Like, the only people used to call me Lana. Fuck out of here. I would just be like, you don't know me. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I would just like, well, you're kind of showing that you don't know me if you don't know like how to say my name. It shows way more about you than me. So, Allie McCabe, I'm telling you, it's coming closing Tuesday. That's just what the rumor is. The rumor is that the defense is resting on Tuesday, and I'm thinking, I don't know about that. Miss Dever, she acted like a child. Well, let's talk about it. I got something for us. Kick it off. Good way to kick it off is how do I want to do this? Yep. Let's go like this.
Tonight, court is canceled because of the heat.
Court officers are concerned about how we're going to keep the fans and air conditioners going and be allowed to hear the witnesses. We will be in session Friday all day.
Plus, as the defense prepares to rest next week, we get a progress report on the evidence Karen Reed's team has presented so far.
What was on the ground on the Alberts lawn? Nothing.
And our panel of experts weigh in on your questions. Canton Confidential, the Karen Reed murder trial, starts right now.
There was no court today, which means we have an opportunity to dig deeper into all the evidence the defense has presented so
Yes, we
far.
do.
Good evening, everyone. I'm JC Monahan.
And I'm Glenn Jones.
Good evening.
Karen Reed's team is expected to rest its case next week. Our John Maroney walks us through what they've brought to the table.
Good evening. It's hard to believe, but this trial is coming to an end. The defense knows it and will be making one last push to swing the jury.
Tuesday, give or take, Tuesday.
Karen
Give or
Reed says
take.
she expects her defense will rest next week. She's pleaded not guilty to hitting John O'Keefe with her SUV, resulting in his death during a blizzard.
It can be argued that the defense here has really done what they needed to do in order to raise the issue of reasonable doubt during the Commonwealth rests.
Last Friday, the prosecution wrapped, and so far the defense has presented 7 witnesses over 5 days.
Like you can't remember my name. I don't remember.
One of them...
What a bitch! Like you can't remember my name, I can't remember. Do you understand? Think about it. If you're a juror and you hear somebody say that, you're going to be like, what? Just like you can't remember my name, I can't remember. Has she lost her fucking mind? But you know what? People in Boston are like, yeah, that's our girl. I want to get a blowjob from her, baby. That's our girl. I cannot believe, did they really cancel the Heat? Wow.
Former Canton police officer was hostile. Others included a woman who was with Reed and O'Keefe at the Waterfall Bar and Grill.
You know what? Cutest, hands down, all the way around. Best, cutest, like innocent, most innocent. Kolakithis. Come on, man. Okay. Literally, like, she's like, God, I wasn't even supposed to be out that night. But like, dude, I really liked Karen. And when I saw Karen, like, I just wanted to stay. I wanted to stay longer. Okay. So she gets my award hands down for like the most like just cute little momsy, like, oh my God, my kids were like, just go out. And then when I got there and then Karen and John came in and then like, cause I was going to leave, but then they came and I'm like, you know, I think that was I'm telling you, that is way bigger than people are going to give credit to, because that cutesy little, like, she liked Karen, and I think that she still likes Karen, and Karen's not a Karen. You know what I mean?
And Dighton police officer, legal analyst Peter Elkin says the defense did get help from some of them.
The fact that there are likable people testifying on behalf of Karen Reed is kind of an icing on the cake. But again,
wow, look at this. I just said it before he did. Likable people testifying on the behalf of Karen Reed. This just dropped 9 minutes ago, NBC 10 Boston. Grading Karen Reed's defense before their final push, quote unquote, we have to be careful. I want to hear about this. We have to be careful bullshit.
the key is the search for the truth or the search for reasonable doubt.
I don't see any medical evidence that there was impact with the vehicle.
Special prosecutor Hank Brennan gave dog bite expert Dr. Marie Russell a hard time.
There will be some serious charges brought on the girl.
A friend of Michael Proctor's read
Okay, let's talk about our girl. Dr. Marie Russell. Just like everybody out here in the world, when someone says, oh, those are dog bites, everybody went on the jurors were like, oh my God, that's right, they are. They look just like them. You know what I mean? Just so think about, yeah, that would be like, whoa, just, I want to look at it from the juror standpoint. Hank literally though went at our 67-year-old grandma. He made it seem like she has a dog in the fight. She's trying to put her name out there. She's trying to do commercials. Pop Fizz Trojan, here I come. Out of your mind. That jury didn't buy that, okay? They're not thinking grandma is trying to get some, but you took a picture of yourself and you posted it, right? And you were here last year and it was a picture of you here.
appropriate text messages the former state trooper wrote
ridiculous.
It seems the jurors won't hear from him or Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, both of whom the defense says are third-party culprits.
They're focusing a little bit more on the forensic evidence as opposed to just the police misconduct.
The defense team is expected to close with the controversial accident reconstructionist from ARCA. The jury will then get the case, and anything can happen.
You never know.
Okay, so hang on. Everybody thinks that ARCA is going to go last. Let's be real here. I had some time to think about it. And do I think ARCA is going to go last? I don't know. Because I think that there's something else in the works.
What a jury's going to do, and you also never know how long they're going to be out.
Testimony resumes tomorrow morning, and at this time next week, the jury should be in deliberations. In Dedham, I'm John Maroney. Back to you.
Joining us tonight is our chief legal analyst, Michael Coyne, Dean of the Massachusetts School of Law. All right, Michael, how effective has the defense been so far?
Reasonably effective. They've helped to create that reasonable doubt, or at least for jurors looking for reasonable doubt, there is some basis to support that verdict. But I think what we have to be very careful of is last time, as we were looking at this case and we didn't think the government did a very strong job.
Listen, if you're going for reasonable doubt, I am promising you it'll be a huge mistake if you do not call just for the, remember I told you guys, you just need to rip through 7 people and you're going to ask them like 4 questions. Okay. We're going to call 4 to 7 people. And we're going to ask them just a couple questions. You're going to ask to Ricky Donato, the driver of the truck. Okay. You're going to ask if there's a body on the lawn. You're going to ask that to, Allie, what's her name? Caitlin Albert, Tristan Morris. You have to call Caitlin Albert and Tristan. You understand this? There is no way that they cannot not call those 2 people. Why wouldn't you want people testifying that they came to the house to pick somebody up and that they didn't see a body on the lawn at 2 a.m.? So without a doubt, those 2 people, Tristan and Caitlin Albert, they have to be called. If you don't call them, that's all you have to ask them. So that night where you're out with your family, yep. And then you went back to the house, yep. And you know, like you've lived there your whole life, yep. And how long have you been with your boyfriend? So you're familiar with the yard, what should be there, what shouldn't be there. So I don't, they have to call. The defense has to call those 2 people. There is not a body on the lawn. All these people saying that there wasn't a body on the lawn. If you don't think that that helped Karen Reed last time, then you're nuts. It did. So we need people saying that there was not a body on the lawn. So, I would call Allison McCabe to the stand and put the more doubt in the jury's mind on actually what time she truly went to go to that house, because the Life 360 app blows up her story. Okay. Which is even more of a, why are you lying? Where did you really go? What time did you really go over to 34 Fairview? And did you see a body on the lawn? No. Who else? You know, everybody's like, why aren't they calling Higgins? Why aren't they calling Higgins? You guys, guess who they're going to call? Why wouldn't they just call none other than Matthew Kelsch, the guy that fucking downloaded the fucking shit for him at the FBI? Why wouldn't they call Matthew Kelsch just to do the damage? You guys, just like, I think we kind of saw it. They had no idea what that hoe bag was going to say. Kelly Dever. When you have no idea what someone's going to say on the stand, do you know, like, you're playing with legit fire? You're like any veteran attorney. That's like the number 1 rule. You cannot call somebody to the stand that you have no idea what they're going to do and say. That's why they can't call, like, it's too big of a risk. Like, you cannot call these people. You cannot call Brian Higgins. What if Brian Higgins says on the stand, yeah, you know what? I went over to John's after I left, and I didn't, nobody asked me if I saw Karen that night. It was some wild shit. So you just can't. Karen cannot take that chance. You cannot call these fucking lying ass bitches to the stand when you don't know what they're going to say.
Job. No, we thought that all the smart money thought that it would be a not guilty verdict and relatively quickly. So I think we have to be careful in assessing the government's case in total and the defendant's case. The fact is that the government has tried a significantly stronger case this time around. The defendant has done a good job creating reasonable doubt. And what they haven't done is focus on that third-party defense. And I think that was a tough sell last time based on our talks with jurors. And so I think what they're really trying to do is chip away at what we always thought should be done, is create that reasonable doubt, use whatever opportunity you can to do so, and hopefully have some jurors agree with you so that.
And so basically, they're not going to be able to go my route because when I said like, dude, what's her tits was just sitting there, not running around doing anything. They're going the route. We're going to use Jen McCabe and say that she kept walking over. And you didn't see anything, right? And then you leave and you don't see a body. You didn't see a hit and run. You didn't see anything. And so that's why they're not going with breaking it down like the data wise. They're sticking with that. I mean, hey, that's their strategy. I can just tell you that Jennifer McCabe was not walking over back and forth. And I think that if you show that to the jury that she was not walking, or at least her data doesn't show that she's walking back and forth, then that's what would put the doubt in the jury's mind about John's phone not being accurate when it stopped at 12:32 and 10 seconds. So I think I would be wanting to show up for that purpose, that I'd want to show Jennifer McCabe's phone data and her watch data, because you want to put as much doubt into John's phone never moving again after that timestamp, because people are associating him being dead right then. But that looks worse, I think, for Karen than it does for that they beat him up. So that's how I see it.
They come back with a not guilty verdict on all three counts.
Michael, are there any noticeable missteps to call out on the defense up until this point? Like, for example, not calling Michael Proctor or the testimony of Kelly Dever?
I think the testimony of Kelly Dever helped them at the end of the day. She really was too evasive.
I agree.
Obviously would have liked her to acknowledge, having made the statement earlier and that it was true, that she saw Higgins and the former police chief in that Sally Port.
But they did enough damage. Everybody at the end of the day knows that that's what she saw. So I'm asking myself though, why did they show her the video? Why did they show her the Sally Port? Why didn't they say, is that you in the Sally Port? Isn't that a female? How many female officers work at Canton at the time that you worked at Canton? So I don't know. Sally Port videos got no love.
He knew it in an amount of time, but she wouldn't budge. And the problem is, from the prosecution standpoint, as a law enforcement officer, she did appear too evasive and argumentative at times. So that still ended up helping the defendant.
100.
I'm not so sure they've tied a lot of these threads together yet. We know we have a dog bite expert, but if you look at
what's up, Larissa, baby? Thank you so much.
More helpful in the fact that she said it wasn't a vehicle that struck.
Here we go. So, Karina, Russell, Proctor's friend. I loved Nicholas Barrow, so that's why I have him up here. Lucky was so solid, like just so solid. Like Hank, you're gonna rot for what you try to go at that man. Fuck.
Him. We haven't heard much about Chloe. We don't know whose dog it might have been. We don't have him in the house, and that was a promise that Jackson made. So as we wind down here, it does appear that some of the promises the defendant made in their opening statements, they're not going to deliver on, and you can be sure that Attorney Brennan will call them on that in his closing.
Okay, I'm so glad that he just said that right there. I disagree. I believe that they're going to use Karen Reed's clips, just like how Brennan did. Karen Reed's team is going to play the clip that says that she saw John walk into the house. That is going to be played. And that is what's going to keep Attorney Jackson keeping his word. So sit the fuck down, motherfucker. Attorney Jackson is way too polished to make an error like that, to tell the jury that you have an eyewitness that said that saw John go into the house. That's what's going to happen. Just like how they use Karen Reed's clips, they're going to use Karen Reed's clip for that.
You just mentioned one of them, which is that third-party culprit argument. So at this point, it doesn't seem, we don't know, doesn't seem like the defense will be calling Brian Albert or Brian Higgins. What do they do with that? You just said Brennan will exploit that if they don't use it because it was something that they put in opening.
Well, remember, the judge said that they could not argue third-party culprit in the opening and that they could not even put it before the jury until they produced some credible evidence, admissible evidence.
Wait, they can't use clips that aren't in evidence? It's not. What do you mean? It's called the completeness of evidence. The completeness of evidence. It's the completeness of evidence rule. They most certainly can use the clips for the completeness of evidence rule. Unless they lost that argument, which I don't know how you would never lose that argument. It's for the completeness. So he can play his clips all he wants. But for the completeness of rule, like you just can't get to clip something and think, oh, nope, they don't get to go and use from the whole piece. Like, no, it's the completeness of evidence rule. Like, get the fuck out of here. There's no way. So... only for sentences like it's her or me, they can show the entire sentence with Jen McCabe. Well, I disagree. If that's what the ruling is, in Ohio that would never stand. You just have to do it, and you're like, if that's something that you want to show, call Gretchen motherfucking Voss. Call Ted Daniels. Okay, there you go. I have to think that they're really leaning on. I mean, you have to think about it. They put somebody on their team that was literally in that deliberating room. And okay, what was everybody saying about what? What were the people that were not team Karen Reed saying? That I wouldn't even want to know what the people that were going to acquit were. I want to know what the people that were saying she was guilty. We need to go with that.
During the case. They really haven't done that. And that's the question is, does this little kerfuffle with Higgins in the bar that night, does that create the opening for it? There really is still no one who has placed him inside the house where either of the Bryans could have participated in John O'Keefe's death. I think they've got to be careful trying to still sell that to the jury because the government has done a terrific job on the state from the standpoint of the science, putting his last step.
No, what they've done a really good job of, and I just think that, but it made them not meet their burden. They did a really good job of eliminating like 9/10 of the people. And I think that's what the defense kept on arguing about. Like, how are you going to let certain people testify to certain things that they didn't do? Hank Brennan got to put, I'm sorry, but why is anybody calling Detective, or what's his name, Good? Why? Lank. We're not going to hear from Good and Lank. The defense isn't going to call them. The defense isn't going to say, did you take this picture, and show them a picture of no shoe being on the curb? They took pictures that would eventually gotten into the file to be part of the case. The pictures that Good took. Why wouldn't she want to put that up in front of the jurors and say, so when you took this picture, don't you think you would have saw a shoe? Do you see a shoe in that picture? I don't get that. I don't get how that would confuse the jury. Like, what the fuck? The shoe picture not there, then there is about, yeah, like I don't understand why you wouldn't be using that. Do they not know? Does the defense not know? Everybody wants to talk about, oh, the shoe has a different sole. Fuck, who cares? The shoe isn't there in the morning, and there's a picture that shows that it's not there. Why aren't you showing that? Canton Police took the same angle, right off the curb, right there, no shoe. CERT team takes a picture. That's exactly where the shoe was. I mean, it, like, just wow.
Shortly after he left that vehicle, have they tied his last steps to being struck?
How about where the fuck was Higgins's Jeep? Where was Higgins's Jeep? Where was Higgins's Jeep? Where was Higgins's Jeep? What about Steven Seraph being called to the stand to say, you didn't hear Miss Reed say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Do you see that girl right there in that video? Do you know who that is? If she said that she heard you say that, would she be lying? Yeah, because I didn't say it. No more further questions. I mean, what the fuck? I don't understand. I don't. I don't understand. I don't. If you keep things so clear and concise, I don't. I think you can call 15 more people and you ask them, I mean, what? Especially stuff like that. Brennan, what are you going to ask these Canton cops that you didn't call to the stand? You let Hank go and discredit these motherfuckers that were involved. I would be calling every Canton cop and every firefighter and letting Hank try to like wreck them, because that would show me as a juror, like, wait a second, I don't understand what's going on here. Why are you going at these people that are supposed to be all like part of the department and around? And I mean, it's just unheard of. I don't know. Sean, $20. Thank you so much. Shake it. Who else to be out here? LaDonna, $50. Woo! Carolyn, woo! $25. Look out. Let's go to the bar, y'all. Sean says, Lana is back. Lindsay, we're watching, baby. Thank you. Let's hear what else.
By the vehicle, that's really going to be determined with respect to the next witnesses that we're likely to see, the ACA reconstruction experts. Hank has to not just deliver a crushing blow to impeach them, he's got to get them to acknowledge some of the basic parts of his case that she could have struck him with the vehicle that night.
All right, Professor, give a grade to the defense so far, and acknowledging, of course, that their bar for success is a little bit lower than the prosecution's.
Yep. It's a lot lower, and that's the whole key here, Glenn, as you point out, is that all they have to do is create reasonable doubt. I think they've done a very good job at that. I'm not so sure that it's a convincing job to the jury yet, but I'm going to give them a B. I think abandoning this whole argument about the broad conspiracy, I think that's a wise choice, because I think that's a very tough sell. I agree yet, but I'm going to give them a B. I think abandoning this whole argument about the broad conspiracy.
What? You guys, do you understand that in order for you to go back in that room and find Karen Reed innocent, aka not guilty, aka reasonable doubt, not guilty, you have to be in that back room saying that the taillight was planted. You understand that? Because it's there. It was found on the lawn. It's there, right? So when you go back into a deliberating room, right, and you're with other people, you understand that I don't care what anybody says. In order to fucking find her not guilty by reasonable doubt, you are basically saying, why would you abandon a conspiracy when there's tail light there? The fuck are you people talking about? How can there be tail light there if she didn't fucking hit him? Who the fuck put it there? I cannot believe the logic on these motherfuckers. And this is why I will, like, logic is lost on fucking America. But once you speak logic to somebody, then they will ride your titties on home. Trust. Even judges will. They will, because magistrates and judges, they're all in that cesspool. And, you know, these lawyers get so caught up in arguing losers. Think about it. Do you understand that one of the lawyers is arguing a loss? They're arguing something that I don't care what anybody says that they don't believe in. Do you know how difficult it must be to argue a loser versus argue logic? And that's where I think lawyers they lose that whole logic. They lose the logical arguments because they have to argue so many fucking losers.
I think that's a wise choice, because I think that's a very tough sell. I think what they've done instead, through a very selective group of witnesses, is try to poke holes in the government's case. And that's all they need to do to be successful here. And so that's the question. If jurors are looking for reasons to convict, there's evidence there. If jurors are looking for reasons to acquit, there's evidence that supports it. And that's what makes it a really interesting question at this point. Could they, again, be as riven as the rest of society, and we have a split jury yet again?
Michael, throughout the course of the trial,
that's what I'm afraid of. I think that last year's was so much more convincing to me, because you kept hearing people say that they didn't see John on the lawn. Okay. I feel like that's just, they have to bring that back, because it didn't happen as much as it happened last trial. Okay. And what's so hard to do is that we all know this case, right? So it's almost like the defense needs to go get somebody that doesn't know this case and sit in front of literally a monitor for the next 4 days nonstop, watching all of this and saying that doesn't know anything about the case, so that they can say to the defense what they don't know. I have no idea what this even means. We all know this case. So our minds play tricks on us in terms of, and it would on the defense, even the prosecution. That's why Hank has, I think, a little bit of an advantage, because he hasn't argued. This is kind of like his first go around. So he knows what he's done. I'm sorry. He knows what he had. He knows that he hasn't done something. So whereas you'd have to be really good at, hey, they haven't heard this. We know this, so we have to break this down. And so you'd want to put, you need someone to watch this and tell the defense, yo, this is what I see from this, or I'm unclear about this, because it doesn't make any sense. Because Hank was reading chapter 6 to start off. And then, you got to go back to the fundamentals here. John was not on that lawn. Okay. And if Karen Reed struck him, he needs to be on that lawn. You need to call everybody. You need to call everybody that can testify that there was no body on that lawn. And they have to call Caitlin Albert. They have to call Tristan Morris. I mean, those are a given. You were sober, right? You drove right past, right? I mean, these are the Albert people. You need Albert motherfucking people saying that there was no body on the lawn.
We we've heard attorneys on both sides use a certain phrase while questioning expert witnesses, which, by the way, brings us to this viewer question. Mitchell asks, the attorneys, especially Prosecutor Brennan, say reasonable degree of scientific or medical or engineering or even forensic certainty. Is this a recognized legal term?
Yes, it is. The reason it is a legalized, recognized fucking term, let me explain that. That is so easy to explain. Because it's science. Okay? Why do you think there's miracles? Why do you think that bastard made it and he had cancer and he fucking made it and your friend died? Because it's science. Because there is no guarantees. That's why. So, but glad that we talked about experts. The logical thing to do if you're a juror or an average citizen is think about it like school. If my 7th grade teacher taught me it this way, okay? And then my 8th grade teacher taught me it this way, okay? Two different ways. Both could be possible, right? Are either one of my teachers wrong? Could that have happened? Yes. Could this have happened? Yes. All that does is it's like it cancels each other out to me in the world of looking at cases. So if it's credible, right? If it's a credible person and you listen to them and yep, this is a possibility. Yep. And then, okay, that's also a possibility. Okay. The word is it's a possibility that could have happened. Who the fuck is going to testify to the Google search? Who's going to testify to the Google search? Has anybody testified to the Google search yet? The answer is no. No one's testified to the Google search yet. You know that, right? For the defense. Reasonable doubt. Could that have happened? Yeah. And then you mix that with, oh, wow, nobody saw him on the lawn. Well, if Karen would have hit him, first of all, I don't think it's reasonable to think that Karen hit him with her car and that he'd be where the fuck he was. He would have been in the street. Okay. So someone wrote, I love it. Seems like Google could confirm it on the back end. Right? Karen should be found not guilty. Karen should be found not guilty for the mere fact that somebody was fucking fired who's a lead investigator in the case. For the mere fact that there's just this case makes no sense the way that Hank put it together, but it's the only way that they could try to find her guilty is he had to do it that way. Is that in the name of justice? If you have to do something so like strategically fucked, how is that a just process? And Karen Reed said it best. What do you think about the prosecution's case? Unjust. Unjust is what I think about the prosecution's case. The prosecution is not supposed to pin or they're supposed to just present the evidence to the citizens who make up the jury for them to decide. That's not what I see here. What I see here is a cookie cutter way to either to find, you had to put on your defense, your case this way. The only way you could find this woman guilty is they had to go about it that way. If you got to do all that, that's why I say the Brian Culver case, if you got to do all that, something's fucking wrong, man. And then Bev being able to call these really important shots, which is she's the referee. Was it a touchdown? Was it not a touchdown? What are the rules? She's making the rules as she goes. It's a very interesting. I struggle with it.
There are a few examples from this in the case. Take a listen.
Can you testify to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty? Are you suggesting to a reasonable degree of medical certainty? To a reasonable degree of medical certainty, do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty?
Is there a reason for that, Michael? Or is it just theatrics?
No, it's not theatrics. The whole world is learning how to be a lawyer here. That is the key phrase and the key in order to have the expert's testimony admissible as to their opinion, because that's what it is. They have to establish that it is to a reasonable degree of scientific or medical or engineering certainty in order to lay that foundation so that the jury can hear the opinion. So,
well, no shit to that, but why aren't they asking if it's just to any degree of what
that's a key legal phrase, and absent that, the testimony.
Yeah, that allows them to that allows you to give an opinion, because otherwise it'd be speculating, right? Yeah.
Admissible. So that's why you constantly hear that reference. When you're using experts, they have to establish that they hold their opinions to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, medical certainty, or engineering certainty, depending on their specialty.
Can we follow up for a second on a discussion that we had earlier this week? It centers around the charges that Karen's facing. There's second-degree murder. We know there's manslaughter while operating.
I think 100% murder's off again. Okay. Bev's a fucking psycho. Bev to sit there and think that murder was fucking the elements were actually presented. Bitch, put a dick in it. She's lost her mind. Bev, crazy. Certainty in the dog bite community. Don't even get me started. You have to use science to have an opinion based on science. Right. I laugh. Like, dude, what type of American could put somebody in prison based off of this shit? What if you were Karen Reed? That's all I would go in there and tell the jurors. Hey, hi guys, I guess we can all talk now to each other. Well, let me just tell you this. If I was in that defendant's seat right there, and this is what somebody brought up for have me be convicted, no way. That's all I have to say. Would you want to be convicted of a crime like what they presented here? This is a murder case. They would have had a better shot by not even charging her with that, in my opinion, to go after the other stuff. Ridiculous.
Operating a motor vehicle under the influence and leaving the scene of a fatal collision. Our viewer Kelly from South Carolina wants to know, are Karen Reed's charges all or nothing?
Why would you even? What a bunch of idiots. That's the question I'm going to put up on the board. All or nothing. No, they're not all or nothing. Now,
section titled Consciousness of Guilt, the Commonwealth's proposed instructions include this passage. You have heard evidence suggesting that the defendant may have intentionally attempted to harass and intimidate witnesses whom the defendant believed would testify against her. If the Commonwealth has proved that the defendant did...
Citizens need to stop thinking that it takes a special ass skill to be a freaking cop or detective. That's the number one thing. Okay? Think about how many things you get wrong in your job that you do. You get things wrong a lot, but you have to go back and correct your mistake, right? So we're going to sit here and think that the police officers and the detectives units, that they don't ever make mistakes. That is absolutely asinine. They make shit ton of mistakes. What they do is they just cover it up. They don't go back and fix their mistakes. They just ignore them. And that's what I think is hilarious that's another thing I would just say in the fucking jury deliberating room. Hey guys, how many mistakes do you guys make at work? I make mistakes all the time. You know how many mistakes I make when editing a video, to try to edit a video and cut it? oh man, I got to go back and get that part. I got to go back and that. Oh, she must be guilty because they arrested her for a reason. There's a reason a lot of cops don't go to college. Let's just put it that way. I wish it was because they had like really good skill set for being, a detective, but that's not what. That's not. Sorry, just call it as I see it.
He first called me and said that they were coming to Dighton to retrieve a vehicle that occurred at a homicide in Canton.
And you understood
occurred at a homicide at 2:35. Homicide. Why would they be thinking this was a homicide at 2:35? They literally don't know shit about this case. They haven't found anything yet. Nicholas Barros did way more than people think. If these people were like paying attention. We're going to tow her car. Why didn't you tow fucking Carrie Roberts' car? Why did they think these detectives didn't see John, right? Until, at the hospital. But why was everybody so convinced that it didn't happen? I don't know. Because nobody saw John, right? Why couldn't this have happened at 4 or 5 or 3 or, why did this have to happen at 12:30? Really weird to me. Just it was great when he saw that. He's like, people think it was bad when he said, that he didn't get to see that. They didn't ask him about it, the picture or whatever. And he's like, I thought that they did. I want to know, did Alan Jackson ask him if maybe the feds showed him that picture? And he was confusing the feds asking him questions? Did the feds ever talk to this man? Because I don't understand why that wasn't a rehabilitate. Like, why didn't they rehabilitate him that way? Again, I was in and out. Did Alan Jackson ask him that? Because that would be the first thing that I would think of to ask him. Well, you thought that were you asked at another proceeding, or did because it would be so easy to mix up this proceeding, but then you actually if you talk to the FBI, if you're ready to, what the fuck? But I don't know if did the feds not talk to him? I know that he saw it 100 times is where he saw it. He saw it online 100 times. I get that, but you would know if you were asked the question in fucking trial. But you would use you say the word, you're not allowed to say FBI, but you would say, did another agency ask you about it? So I'm just curious if Alan Jackson rehabilitated him in that capacity with the whole. I know he came back and he said, "Hey, you had a birthday last year, right? You remember that you had a birthday, but you don't remember, stuff like that." Whatever. Sherry D, what is good? Shake it. We got 3 more minutes. We're gonna be live tomorrow for the Karen Reed case. I'm telling you, they're about to rip off a bunch of people tomorrow. They have to. So I got. My other thought was with Allie McCabe. Here's my other smart comment about Allie McCabe on why she was put on the witness list is to keep her from watching the trial. So that way she couldn't report to her parents. You know what I mean? Like, you want to keep her from watching the trial. Tell me why Karen Reed is on trial. Right? Marsha, I agree. Thank you, buying people memberships. Marsha, 20 months? Oh, sweetness. Woohoo, the internet. We're about to see. It wasn't like there's an issue with They switched over a bunch of crap in my area. I got a whole earful of it for an hour with people that hardly speak English. And I'm like, I don't even understand you right now. Can you just make this work? So thank you. Backseat juror, member for 2 months. Appreciate you. So Allie McCabe being put on the defense's witness list. That Life 360, I'm telling you, I broke down the data. Allie McCabe's a lying bitch. And fucking use that to your advantage and make it seem like that she's there after the time that she says that she's there. She also said that Colin wasn't there when John was there. So why wouldn't you use that to your advantage? Maybe that's the eyewitness that saw John in the house. There's no way that Alan Jackson's going to leave that type of meat on the bone and not clear that up. What else? What else you guys got? The judge rulings scare the shit out of me. All stacked against her. Yeah, they're pretty bad. I don't get the rebuttal. Well, defense gets a rebuttal. The Commonwealth's rebuttal. I don't think that happens here. You don't have a Sir rebuttal. It's called the Sir rebuttal. And I don't believe that Boston, Massachusetts, rather has a Sir rebuttal. A rebuttal to your rebuttal. I don't think that was my argument, is I don't think that they're not gonna, I don't think that they're gonna call, what's her name? The only person that was gonna rebut, I think, Arca, is if they call Welcher back. I think that was the whole thing. I would still attempt to say that John didn't even have his phone, man. Or like I said, use Jen's shit. What else? Crosby, is that the rebuttal? Yeah. That too. He's still on the list. The defense, Caitlin Albert. Kevin Albert. So you're not going to call Kevin Albert? Ashley Bell. Maybe they're going to call, you know what? They may call the person that got bit by Chloe. That's relevant. So we're looking at the Cheryl Wu or whatever Wah, whatever how she ever says it. Michael and Cheryl are married. Now they're not married anymore. But they were bit. She was bit by the dog. Let's show some more on here. They went ahead and they renewed Easter's motion. So gambling line, Lana over under. How many more witnesses for the defense? I think we're going to get through at least 4 tomorrow. So 4. I hope fucking Karen Reed testifies. If Karen Reed testifies, I'll lose my shit. If I was Karen Reed, I'd testify. I'm just ballsy, though. Lana is sure. Hope your internet stays well. We're trying. Did you guys see Nicholas Barris? Was he speaking okay? Oh, was it denied again? Easter was denied? I didn't know it came in. When did it come in? What a hoe. She did? How'd I miss that? I've been doing a bunch of shit, but what a fucking skank. Dude, these people are so fucking nuts. How? How? Damn.
Tonight, serious claims about the defense brought to light during testimony from their own witness.
They said that they would charge me with perjury.
What else was said on the stand that's also...
Who can charge you with perjury, Miss Deva? Aren't you a fucking cop? Who has to bring those charges, you dumbass? What a dumbass. I'm going to charge you with perjury. She's a liar.
Those wounds were
Dude, when I found out she was BFFs with Sarah Levinson in 6th grade, dude, you guys know they were probably like shaving beef for the first time and talking about it. Like, that's the type of conversations that you have in 6th grade. And so that's all I could think about the rest of the day was that Sarah Levinson, frumpy, never smiles, and Kelly Dever, shaving beef. Yep. Leanna, she ruled on the bench. Yep, there you go. It's Deaver. Leave it to Deaver. They still hang out and probably talk about their sloth badges. No doubt about it. But that's all I could think about when she said that she's been friends with Sarah. So Sarah, this is Sarah. Sarah.
inflicted as a result of a dog attack.
The dog bite expert from Reed's first trial returns to the stand.
These are not my words. I'm not really comfortable reading these. Do I have to say these words out loud?
Michael Proctor.
Do I have to say these words out loud?
Defense witness and defense attorney Alan Jackson really caught everyone's attention today. Should we expect that all police officers receive some kind of training for testifying at trial? And did it surprise you to hear that as a rookie cop ahead of testimony, she got time with the police commissioner, Michael Cox?
Well, good evening, Glenn. Thanks for having me. Yes, police officers do go through courtroom procedure training and the understanding of how to conduct yourself in a court of law and all of those sorts of things, as you might understand.
Well, then I would say she fucking epically failed. Okay? Then what are they training these people to do?
I saw that as her trying to actually protect herself in that response. So, an average police officer is going to say, yes, we should protect other police officers in the field. That's what we do. That's why we call backup. Now, the context is in the form of the blue wall of silence. So in that challenge, she paused, hesitated, and thought well and deep about what her response was going to be.
Yeah, so the question now is whether or not that's seen as credible by the jury. Todd McGee, thank you so much. It's always great to have you.
Thank you, Glenn.
You've never talked to me. Nobody on the fence seems to talk to me since prior to the first trial. So I don't have any idea why I'm here.
Let's continue our discussion on Devers' testimony for a moment longer with two of our legal analysts tonight.
I have no idea why I'm here. You have no idea why you're here. None.
Tonight.
None.
This. And if I'm the defense, and I am a defense attorney, so take what I say with a block of salt, that I would be none too pleased. You're supposed to have expert disclosures. You're supposed to understand what experts are going to say before they take the stand, because what they testify about is so complicated. You need your own expert to review it and rebut it. So if they are changing their position, that is something you have to object to. You have to make a record. And by the way, you might...
I think Karen Reed honestly should take the stand, because I think Karen Reed has a walking appeal. Like, she could just walk in there and just say, I'm Karen Reed. Here's my transcripts, and fucking appeal granted. That's why I would take the stand. I think that if, God forbid, she was to be found guilty, I think this would be overturned in a second. But I mean, I don't know. Her voice is definitely beaver sounding. Leave it. Yep. Leave it to Deaver. I hope her and Hank are literally banging. I could see Miss Deaver and Hank totally rubbing one out together.
extensive cross-examination, then great. But in my opinion, she has frequently curtailed the defense's cross-examination. And by the way, reasonable minds can differ on this, but I think she's been very quick to sustain objections against the defense.
Judge, I have something to say about this, but let me put this viewer question up because I think you can
viewer
address
questions. Stop asking viewer
So
questions.
the search for the truth wins out, which is that they can add or modify their opinion, which is actually.
I think that we got like 2 curveballs coming, and then we got 2 curveballs coming, and I still have my money on Derek Ellington, testifying, and Matthew Kelsch. Matthew Kelsch is the guy that downloaded and helped, what's his name, Higgins do what he did with his phone. You're going to call, you have to call Tristan Morris. You have to call Caitlin Albert. I would call Ricky Dionato, whatever the fuck his name is. Tanti. You also have a chance here with Kathleen Prince. You can call Kathleen Prince. She wrote up the report when you can call Kathleen Prince, who wrote up the report when she met with Jennifer McCabe. And so I like Kathleen Prince because then you're bringing up the whole Well, Jennifer never told you that I hit him, right? You would have wrote that down, right? Yeah, no, she didn't say that at all. When she and I think that that's key. So Kathleen Prince, that's a must call for me. I mean, yeah, she authored that report. She went with, I think it was her. It was Kathleen Prince and how about Tully? Are we gonna fucking call that piece of shit Tully? Okay, you're gonna tell me that Tully's gonna skate? And I think what they're fearing in a way is that Brendan's gonna be able to cross-examine, so he's, you can just lead and da. Yeah, but you get to then redirect after that. I agree. Amen. How is this entire? Yeah. Hi, Lana. I missed watching the trial with you. See you in the morning. Thanks. Oh. I think the defense is getting too cocky. I don't think they're getting too cocky. I think that nobody realizes how Hank strategically did this, that it's not the same. It's your I wouldn't want to call Michael Proctor because he's going to come across he's going to come across that he's sorry. Whereas Buchanan came across as a prick, and that's the only reason I wouldn't call Proctor. You have Bev running. Fuck yeah, she's running interference. Somebody needs to interfere in her drinking. 3 days off and 1 half day next week. What is that? What she's doing? Yeah. This is the easiest case to vote not guilty because of reasonable doubt. Like there's just, but mind you, if it comes back that way, that means every single buddy, there's doubt that was all planted. And I love it. Corruption. That's why I disagree with not hitting home that all that shit was planted. Hank is leaving out the main players of the night. Yeah, because for a reason. Because they're the ones that create the reasonable doubt. So we're just going to act like this was just so clear, cut, and dry that these detectives at 2:30 in the afternoon were like, this is a homicide. Karen smashed John. That's why I think you got to call the Canton cops. God, just call fucking what's his name? Call what's his name? Please call Good. Just call Good. Just show him that damn picture and say that there was no shoe there, and then let it be. All right. She needs a lot more. She needs a lot of something. I don't know, Bev. Thank you so much, Mary. $20. Thank you, Lana. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, I've missed you guys. You have no idea what it was like the past couple days. I think I motherfucked the internet people a couple times. I'm sure I apologize though, because I was like, it's not your fault, but I was like, I'm not able to hang out with my friends online. And I'm like, I sound like a gamer. My friends are waiting for me. Oh, Mary, you rock. What is up, Sherry? What are you doing over there? I gotta print off these what do you call it? These damn motions. I did not know that she ruled from the what do you call it? Oh my God. Okay. Mm-hmm. It was awful. Oh, boy. Sherry. My head is going to explode. I have a pounding headache. I never get headaches. Okay, bye-bye, buddy. Jonathan, you've been blocked. There's this dude, Jonathan, or maybe it's a girl, who the fuck knows, sent me 426 emails in a 3-hour period. I don't know how that's even possible. You're back tomorrow. You know it. I should just put all these emails out there. You guys sending me pictures of the wackest shit, just pictures of stuff zoomed in and just saying like, hey, these are dead people. Like, who the fuck has time for that? Bless people's souls. Like, just bless them. God, if this is... I wish I had time like that. Drink plenty of water and get some rest tomorrow. Oh no, we have court tomorrow, you guys. Hello. We got Karen Reed, baby. Karen.
That to mean what? Retrieve a vehicle.
Seize.
Thank you.
Seize.
What was your role once you arrived at the scene at the Reed household?
My role was Trooper Michael Proctor asked me to facilitate a tow to tow that vehicle.
I'm actually shocked that he actually called. I'm actually shocked that they asked Dighton to come on by. Anyways. No, it's fine. I woke up and I was just like, oh my God, Jonathan. I was like, what the hell is going on? I was like, it's so early in the morning. I was like, what is all this shit? And I was like, oh my God, bless this person. And then they just kept on coming in. And I was just like, okay, that's enough. Yeah. So I think it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I think there's some meat on the bone still left. And I think if you don't call people that were at that house that consider there's nobody on the lawn, you're making a big mistake. And I have no problem saying it. As much as I love the defense, then they must know something that we don't know about the people to not call them. So. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me on this recap. Miss Deaver. Go on with your bad beaver, baby. Miss Diva in the Beavers. Oh, Miss Diva. Miss Diva. What a fucking man. All right, much love. Peace out, guys. Be back here tomorrow morning. Cheers. Adios.